You might be having a completely normal day at home, but I can honestly tell you that all kinds of things are happening in your backyard every single day without you even noticing. And they're often more complicated, more fascinating, and more surprising than anything you'd see in a Hollywood movie. I'm pretty sure that once you hear about the fourth and sixth birds on this list, you'll never look at birds the same way again. First up is the blue jay. If there's a blue jay in your backyard, there's probably a hawk nearby too. Or maybe there isn't, because the blue jay might just be telling you there is. Blue jays can perfectly imitate the call of a red-shouldered hawk, and they use this ability for two different reasons. First, if a real hawk is approaching, they make that call to warn all the other birds. But the second reason is both clever and a little sneaky. When they want to take over a bird feeder, they imitate a hawk to scare away all the smaller birds nearby. The other birds fly off, the feeder is left to the blue jay, and the trick works perfectly. It's a smart strategy. In 1990, Jack P. Haleman was one of the first researchers to scientifically describe this behavior. So when a blue jay makes that sound, it could be giving a genuine warning, or it could be deliberately trying to fool everyone. And this behavior has been documented in laboratory studies for decades. Next up are the drunk Bohemian Waxwings. And no, that's not an exaggeration. Some bird species, like the Bohemian Waxwing, eat fermented fruit that's been left on trees. As the sugar in those fruits ferments, it naturally turns into alcohol. When these birds eat enough of it, their blood alcohol level goes up, their coordination gets worse, and they lose their balance. When they try to fly, they end up wobbling through the air. The result? They crash into fences, windows, tree branches, and things usually don't end well. This is actually a well-documented cause of bird deaths in gardens and suburban areas, and a lot of birds have died this way. Some local governments have even had to issue warnings about it, especially during the fall when fruit on trees ripens and starts to ferment, because the results speak for themselves. Next up is the robin, and the way this bird hunts is honestly incredible. Unlike most birds, it doesn't really rely on its eyes alone. It relies on the angle of its view. In other words, it doesn't find worms in the grass with its eyes. It finds them with the right angle. If you've ever watched a robin in your yard, you've probably noticed this. It suddenly stops, tilts its head to one side, and looks like it's listening for something. Most people think it's listening to the worm, but that's actually not true. A robin's eyes are on the sides of its head. When it tilts its head, it positions one eye directly toward the ground for the best possible viewing angle. It visually tracks even the tiniest movement a worm makes beneath the soil. So it's not listening at all, it's watching. And its visual sensitivity is so impressive that it can detect worms moving just below the surface. It's an absolutely amazing ability. Next up is a real ladies' man, better known as the red-winged blackbird. This bird can have nests with up to 15 females at the same time. You might see it around gardens, marshes, or reed beds, looking elegant with those striking red and yellow patches on its wings, but don't let the looks fool you. It's a total flirt. From a breeding standpoint, the story is very different. The male controls a large territory, and within that territory, multiple females build their nests, all connected to the same male. Researchers have documented as many as 15 active nests for a single male, and he doesn't ignore them either. He visits them all, feeds them, and defends them. So yes, he might be a player, but he also knows how to take responsibility. There are other birds with similar breeding systems, but when it comes to the numbers, the red-winged blackbird is hard to beat. Interesting bird in your backyard is the American goldfinch couple. The male and female actually develop their own private language that even other goldfinches can't understand. Pairs of American goldfinches create unique flight calls that belong only to them. It's kind of like a human fingerprint. Every pair has its own signature sound. Researchers followed the same goldfinch pairs in the same areas for years and found that each pair gradually developed its own distinct calls. So no, this isn't some made-up story. It's backed by real research. That means those two little yellow birds in your backyard could be having a conversation in a language that only the two of them understand, and you'd never even realize it. Now, do you know what the sixth bird is? It's the chickadee, the bird that actually grows its own brain. And yes, it really does have an incredible ability. Every fall, the part of a chickadee's brain responsible for memory, called the hippocampus, grows by about 30%. That's a real thing. The reason is pretty fascinating. This tiny bird hides seeds in thousands of different places and stores every single location in its memory. The more information it has to remember, the bigger that part of its brain becomes, and it uses that mental map all through the winter. Then spring arrives, food becomes plentiful again, and that giant memory map is no longer needed, so the brain shrinks back down. It's honestly amazing that birds can do something like this. The chickadee is one of the few animals whose brain grows and shrinks every single year, and chances are you never knew there was a bird with that kind of ability living right there in your own backyard. That tiny little bird is basically running a memory marathon every winter. The seventh bird on the list is a little unsettling, but it's something you should know. That innocent-looking chestnut-backed chickadee in your backyard is actually a thief. You're probably wondering, what could it possibly be stealing? Well, chestnut-backed chickadees are famous for sneaking into neighboring nests and stealing building materials, and they're surprisingly good at it. The moss, feathers, and little twigs that other birds spent so much time and effort collecting, they simply carry them off to their own nests. They're incredibly sneaky. This behavior has been clearly documented and proven, and researchers even describe them as opportunistic nest thieves. So if you've ever noticed a half-finished nest in your backyard for no obvious reason, chances are a chestnut-backed chickadee paid it a visit. Now let's talk about the eighth bird, and a fact about ducks that most people have no idea about. That classic quack sound everyone associates with ducks, it only comes from female ducks. Male ducks simply can't make that sound. Instead, they make a much quieter, raspier, less dramatic noise. You could even say they're a little more polite than the females. For decades, cartoons, animated movies, and toys have used that famous quack as the voice of male ducks, when in reality it belonged to the female all along, and hardly anyone realized it. It might sound like a tiny detail, but when you stop and think about it, so many things in nature are completely different from what they seem. A lot of what we think we know is either wrong or incomplete. So what do you think? I'm genuinely curious. How many of the birds living right outside in our colorful backyards do we actually know anything about? Most people don't even realize that nature has come right to our doorstep, filling our gardens with life and bringing us joy. In a short video, we can only share a few interesting facts, but who knows what other incredible abilities these birds have. The least we can do is respect them and help protect the little creatures that make our gardens feel alive. Every morning we wake up to birds singing, almost like an orchestra putting on a concert outside our windows. Every single bird has its own beautiful voice. So now I'm curious, which of these bird facts did you already know, and which one surprised you the most? Leave a comment and let's chat, share ideas, and learn from each other.